The pharmaceutical industry runs on deeply sensitive human information. Every new drug discovery relies on massive datasets of clinical trial results, patient medical histories, and complex genomic mapping. Every laboratory experiment and patient test creates a physical trail of information, rooting these digital assets in the daily work of research scientists. Now, the legal framework governing how that information is collected and stored has shifted. India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act, or DPDP Act, imposes strict mandates on the life sciences sector. The financial stakes are severe. Mishandling clinical trial records or failing to secure patient data can now trigger regulatory penalties of up to 250 crore rupees. To navigate this landscape safely, organizations need a clear path forward. We are going to walk through a definitive 5-step blueprint to upgrade your data practices and achieve full compliance. Comprehensive compliance safeguards patient trust and ensures that global research pipelines remain functional in an increasingly regulated market. Step 1 starts at the very top. You need formal, board-level approval to bring in dedicated data privacy specialists. Look at this project timeline. To upgrade your technology and data controls, you have to secure executive sign-off on a structured 10 to 12-month investment plan. As part of this initial phase, the board must appoint a named executive sponsor to lead the DPDP initiative across the company. Attempts to solve compliance from the bottom up consistently stall. Without a dedicated budget and an empowered executive to clear organizational roadblocks, the necessary system upgrades simply won't happen. With leadership in place, Step 2 is creating a cross-functional task force. Representatives from legal, IT, security, HR, R&D, and sales must collaborate to systematically map and tag all data currently held by the organization. As this team maps the data, you will encounter a widespread misconception: the belief that pseudonymized or coded trial data is automatically exempt from data protection laws. The legal reality is stricter. If a clinical trial sponsor retains any key capable of re-identifying a patient, that information is still classified as personal data. If your team categorizes coded datasets as exempt during this initial mapping phase, the entire compliance framework will be built on a fatal vulnerability. Step 3 moves beyond internal servers. You must map the flow of information across borders to international laboratories, global sponsors, and remote testing facilities. Once you know where the data goes, audit and update all contracts and non-disclosure agreements with your contract research organizations and cloud hosting providers. These amended agreements must explicitly allocate DPDP obligations to your vendors and enforce strict timelines for breach notifications. You cannot outsource your legal liability. Under the Act, the primary pharmaceutical sponsor remains fully responsible if an outsourced vendor suffers a data breach. Step 4 focuses on the patients. You must deploy technical consent management systems capable of tracking exactly what each participant agreed to. Look at this comparison. Legacy medical consent often relied on broad future use clauses. The new law requires DPDP legal consent to be highly specific and unambiguous. The legislation also explicitly grants patients the right to easily withdraw their consent at any time. This means if you want to use historical trial data for secondary purposes, like training a new artificial intelligence model, you have to go back and obtain fresh, specific consent from those participants. Managing consent now requires treating these authorizations as dynamic, legally revocable assets that must be tracked throughout the entire data lifecycle. Finally, Step 5. The new technological systems and data policies require full-time, dedicated professionals to operate them safely. You need to officially appoint a data protection officer alongside dedicated consent managers. The data protection officer serves as the vital liaison connecting trial participants, the corporate board, and the Data Protection Board of India. Technology provides the infrastructure to track and secure data, but these dedicated compliance personnel are the final human lynchpins keeping the company legally sound. To recap the journey, you secure the board budget, map your data to avoid the anonymization fallacy, lock down your vendors, upgrade to dynamic consent, and hire a data protection officer. The end result of this machinery is seamless, protected pharmaceutical production and research. By executing this blueprint, your organization neutralizes its regulatory exposure and secures its clinical pipelines against sudden disruptions. Your immediate next step is to draft a one-page gap analysis summary of your current data practices and present it at your very next board meeting. Treating patient privacy as a core operational pillar doesn't restrict scientific research. It is the foundation that ensures sustainable medical innovation can continue.